Buongiorno e benvenuti all'Happy Photography Podcast number 13. With me, no, I was wrong. Sorry.
Are we gonna have a blooper reel?
Huh? I'll tell you what. I'll just do this.
Yeah. Good morning and welcome to the 13th episode of the Happy Photography Podcast, sponsored by Platypod. With me, Dave Williams and Stefano Ricci. Today we talk about drone. So, Mr. Williams, how are you?
Flipping awesome. I'm really good. I'm back in the UK. I've just got back from Texas in the United States, where I experienced 4 weeks of freedom.
Did you use your drone?
I did. Ooh. Look at that, straight into the segue. Boom, right there. Yeah, I did. I flew a few times. I flew over this nice bridge in the city called the Pennybacker Bridge. It's like an arch-shaped bridge over one of the rivers. What's the river there? Colorado River. And yeah, it was cool. It was nice. I didn't do a lot of photography or flying, though, if I'm honest. The whole trip was more about getting a book project done that I'm working on, getting a few other things done that I'm working on, and, finding myself, just chilling, experiencing a little bit of Texas, a little bit of something different compared to the Arctic over the winter.
Right. You went to a Buc-ee's. You experienced the Buc-ee's.
I went to the Buc-ee's.
Wait. What is a Buc-ee's?
What's a Buc-ee's?
It's phenomenal.
It's like a service stop. Like a rest area.
A truck stop.
Yeah, it's like a truck stop, but you're not allowed to go there in your truck.
Okay.
So this one, which one was it? I can't remember the name. New Brunswick?
Uh-huh.
No, that doesn't sound quite right.
You were outside.
New Braunfels.
Okay, so you were down by San Antonio.
Yeah, but that particular one is the biggest service area. No, the biggest convenience store in the world. And it was awesome. Everything's Buc-ee's branded. There's barbecue, there's, flavored nuts, there's jerkies, there's all these souvenirs because it's Buc-ee's and it's awesome. But that's the biggest one in the world. But I believe they're building another one that's going to become the biggest one in the world, Stephanie.
And the one they're building is going to be maybe a 30-minute drive from me in Sevierville, Tennessee.
You're going to have the best life.
You could live in one of those bathroom stalls. You could easily just move in for the weekend.
The bathrooms are famously clean and tidy and stuff, but I see there's a lot of people on YouTube that do like a challenge trying to spend 24 hours in a Buc-ee's. Let me tell you,
it's possible.
It's not hard. Everything is there. Everything you could possibly need.
Not with 20 feet of jerky. I mean, that's something they advertise. We have 20 feet of jerky.
So, and they sell drones, maybe?
No. I don't think they did actually. But anyway, let's get on to drones then. Okay, it needs to be said first of all that the biggest drone company, the one that most people are going to be familiar with, is DJI. DJI are the world's largest camera manufacturer because they bought Hasselblad and they make so many lenses now. And also the world's largest aircraft manufacturer because they turn out so many drones. I think those are two really fascinating facts. The world's largest aircraft manufacturer. They make more aircraft than Boeing or Cessna or Airbus. That's crazy.
Okay.
And Dave, that raises a point for people who want to get into using a drone, right? Yes, there are recreational flyers, but folks, remember, you are putting aircraft up into the air. And that can sometimes lead to some risky situations.
Oh, yes.
I don't know about Europe or the UK, but definitely in the United States, manned aircraft. So somebody in a Cessna, somebody in a helicopter, they have right of way, and it's up to the drone operator to keep an eye on the sky to make sure things are kept safe. So, fly for fun, but remember that it's more than a camera. It is aircraft.
This is probably the first big takeaway of the episode, isn't it, really? Wherever you are in the world or wherever you're flying in the world, so if you're British and flying in America, you have to fly in accordance with the local laws and the local regulations, which means before you go, you have to research and find out what they are. I've got the story I've told 100 times of the time my drone was taken from me by officials in Morocco. When I went into Marrakesh they x-rayed everyone's bags leaving the airport. I thought, that's a bit weird. You usually x-ray them going in. And they were looking for drones, people taking drones into the country because they're illegal. Obviously, I had my drone in my bag. I had no idea about this law. And it's that that's made me so positive on doing the research and doing your homework before you go somewhere and finding out what the local drone laws are. Fortunately, when they took it, I spent a week thinking I'm never going to get it back, but I did get it back for a small sort of storage fee. So it had a happy ending, but I should have known better.
Yeah, I remember that story.
Yeah.
So in Italy, it's pretty easy to fly with drone, but the problem is that you cannot fly everywhere. So we have a site. It's called the d-flight, okay, .com maybe. And where you can check where you can fly or where you cannot, okay? And it show you you can fly in somewhere you can fly that to 205 meters. In other areas you can fly up to 120 meters. I think it's the maximum.
120.
Yeah, it's the maximum. And the only thing that you must know is that when you open this site, I think that you need to be logged inside to see the map. Please activate the layer of the park, because if you don't activate the layer of the park, so maybe
like a layer on the map, so you add another layer on for you to
it show another layer with the park, because if you don't, maybe the site show you that you can fly it, but you cannot, because there is a park law, how to say, the law of the park that say that you cannot fly there.
Right. Okay. So like a law or a regulation.
Local regulation, exactly.
Right. Okay.
We
so
have
that 120,
similar.
that just to interesting, that 120 is almost equivalent to the 400 foot you have in the States. I was just going to put that link in there.
Okay.
Yeah, that is correct. And in the States, obviously, the drones fall under the Federal Aviation Authority, or FAA, the same authority that governs any aircraft in the United States. Yes. And the FAA divides drone pilots into two types. There's the recreational flyers, and then there's what's called the Part 107 flyers. I, for example, am a Part 107, meaning that I have a certification from the FAA to fly commercially my drone. So as an example, yesterday I was doing a job where I was shooting real estate photography for a local realtor, and included in what I presented to her, pictures of the living room and whatnot, I also got drone shots. In fact, one of the more popular shots realtors like to see is I put the drone up to the 400 feet, and I do what's called a bomb shot. So that's exactly over it with a 90-degree angle looking down, because now she can go ahead and outline the meets and bounds, the boundaries of the property, so that a potential buyer can see how big the lot is, right? If she says, oh, well, it's a half acre, well, that gives them a visual reference to that. Part 107 pilots in the United States have to pass a test. It's a written exam. I didn't find it too particularly hard, but then again, I do well on tests, so I don't know what to tell you. Recently, recreational flyers now have to pass a test, and I think that's smart because there's a lot of rules. I mean, some of the rules you'd think would be obvious. Like, if you're going to fly your drone over an active military installation, you're going to have a bad time. That's a given. But for example, a lot of people may not know that in the United States, you cannot fly your drone over national parks or national monuments.
Yes.
So even though I live near the Smokies, I can fly on the perimeter of the Smokies. There's one area that is mostly non-park, but because it's between the Foothills Parkway and the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, it's all red. And we have an application that the FAA has developed with private companies called Before You Fly, which allows me to go ahead and see, okay, am I free to fly there? Or maybe I can't fly there. Or maybe I can then use another app to get authorization through a system called Lance to fly there. And Lance will sometimes, like for example, locally here in Knoxville, if I want to fly downtown, depending on where I am, Lance will either give me 100 feet authorization or 200 feet. and I have to apply for it. And I've done that before. It's real easy. I mean, within seconds, I get a text back from the FAA saying, "You're good to go fly."
So
This is good because in
if this
Italy-
all translates, though, this is all across the world. Every country has these laws, and obviously our listeners and readers, I still haven't figured that thing out, are all over the place. So they need to do their own research and figure out what the local rules, the local laws are. Let's get creative. What creative stuff? So real estate, doing that bomb shot straight down, that's cool because obviously that gives perspective, and that's called a top-down shot or a bird's eye view. But applying that creatively can be tricky because
Can?
it's I call it the airplane window effect or the airplane seat effect, where a lot of people, when they get a drone, they get this tendency to just fly straight up and look straight down. And it's kind of similar to when you get on a plane and you go on vacation and you look out the window when you're coming in to land in your hometown and you see your house and you go, "Oh, that's my house. I live there." And so you whip your phone out of your pocket and you take a picture, and it's nothing creative. It's just the airplane window picture of the house. It's the picture of something familiar. So people do that with their drones when they get them. They forget all about the creativity and they just put the drone up in the air and take a picture of their house because it's familiar. They're seeing something familiar from a different perspective. So,
Or Dave, one of the things that I'll be the first to admit, I've seen some really lovely pictures, but I am so tired of seeing coastlines. Drone pilots love to go up over a coastline, look straight down. It's like, look at the waves. It's like,
juxtaposition, I guess, is the thing there. Juxtaposition and patterns, but they're the things that work for those top-down shots. Juxtaposition and patterns.
It does. You know, if you're flying over something like rice paddies or some type of, freeway system, you can get some very good top-down shots like that. I think one of the hardest things with drones is to remember you don't have a flash. So you've got to stop and think about, okay, I want this picture. It may be a building, it may be something, and you've really got to stop and think, okay, should I just run out there or should I really think about what time of day? Especially if you're getting towards sunset, do I want some clouds in the sky? You have to think about, I do have a light. It's called the sun. But what's the better position for my drone to be in? Because as you probably have experience with your own drones, if your sensor is looking at that sun, you've basically blinded your bird.
Sometimes the newer drones are a lot better at dealing with it. It depends if you want. You can use that creatively as well, though. But leading on from the plane window effect, the biggest thing to remember, particularly for newer drone pilots or drone operators, is to remember that it is a camera. It's just not in your hand anymore. It's over there in the sky. So all the things you know about photography, composition, light,
still applies.
Everything applies equally, but the camera's just not in your hand anymore. It's up in the sky. So when you're doing those shots, to get away from that airplane window effect and get something creative, you just still need to be thinking like a photographer.
That's right.
Which is a big thing. Pisco, do you fly a drone?
Yes. At the moment, I have the DJI Mini 2. Okay. It's the small one because it's under 200. Sorry. It's
under 250 grams.
Yes. And I can fly everywhere.
So the new one, the Mini 3, comes in at 249 grams because of that, which is quite interesting.
But the Mini 3 have the sensor, and it's better than mine. And I think that it's a little bit better with the sensor of the camera. It's a little bit bigger. Yes. Yes.
So I don't know what size it actually is.
I think it's
I'm flying the Mavic 3 Cine at the moment. And it has a 2/3 of the king of the drones, or the king of the prosumer drones at the moment. That was given to me by DJI though, because they want me to shoot, or I have shot for their current advertising marketing campaign. So that's why that happened. It was.
I think that I see some shot from you above the clouds near a castle.
Possibly.
2 months ago, maybe.
Possibly. I mean, perfectly legally above the clouds. Yes, of course.
Yes, not. But the clouds are very low. I remember that the clouds.
They were very
sparse. They're thin.
Yeah,
thin
and
clouds.
you could still see a line of sight to the drone.
The visual line of sight. That's right.
Maybe there are no clouds. There are smokes. it's a little bit small.
No, maybe it was. Maybe I did it with Adobe Photoshop afterwards. Maybe. But yeah, no. The sensor on the Mavic 3 Cine is incredible. First of all, the color range it picks up is phenomenal. I can't believe it. But then it is a micro 2/3 sensor, and it is its range is mind blowing.
Yeah,
I couldn't even get my head around it. So humans see something like 13 stops of light, I think it is, with the human eye.
yeah.
13, 15, yeah.
The Mavic 3 Cine is not. It's like 9. It's
Wow.
crazy good. It is so good. It's ridiculous. But the Mavic 3 Mini, the one that's just come out. So the interesting thing I find about that is it's linked to social media, because the Mavic Pro, you could spin the lens and go from wide to tall, so you could get tall shots natively across the whole sensor.
So from
For your
landscape
social-
to portrait.
Portrait. Yeah.
Wide to tall. Well, I call it wide to tall. I'm sticking with it. Because when I say portrait, I think people. But anyway, so yeah, the Mavic 3, that feature was lost in every drone after the Mavic Pro, but it's been brought back now by the Mavic 3 Mini. Mavic Mini 3.
Yes.
Anyone know?
I think
Mavic
yes.
3 Mini.
I think
Anyway,
yes.
but it's been brought
I'll look
back.
it
So
up.
and it's because we talked about it in several episodes. We've talked about it all over the place, and all of us individually on our own blogs and things as well. Is that for social media photos, a tool is basically king. You want to fill the screen.
Yeah.
You want to fill the screen on the mobile phone of the person that's looking at your photos. And being able to spin the lens and the sensor to take them natively within the drone it's kind of game changing, but they've already done it and then they went away from it. So I'm curious why they went away from it, but it's a good thing that it's back. It saves a lot of vertical panoramas. When you shoot the vertical panoramas with the stitching mode in the drone to overcome that sometimes. It saves a lot of messing about doing that, blending things that are moving through the shots and all that stuff. But anyway, I think that's the cool feature of that new one.
Now, Dave, when you talk...
Stephanie,
oh, sorry.
No problem. What kind of drone do you have?
I have a Mavic Air 2.
Okay.
And what I'm hoping to get is
so
I'm waiting for the Mavic 3, and I'm hoping to get another drone. Although I hear the Mavic 2S is got some
2S,
great
yeah.
capabilities.
The Air
with,
2S
low
is
light.
very good.
Yeah,
Very
especially
good.
with low light capabilities. So I'm looking to
a lot of people
probably pick
rate
up
the
one of
Air-
those later.
A lot of people rate the Air 2S over the 2 Pro. Interestingly. So yeah, the Air 2S would definitely be one to look at.
Well, one reason for buying a DJI is that's the closest I'll ever get to owning a Hasselblad.
Yeah, it's just not a full frame, unfortunately. Or not even a full frame.
Yeah, I know.
What's the word? What's the word I want?
Large format,
Large format.
medium
that's it.
format.
Either of those.
But yeah, right now it's a Mavic Air 2, and I'm hoping to expand the fleet, so to speak.
Sounds good to me. So in terms of creativity, then there's something else we can do. A lot of people, when they're not doing those top-down shots, and they're shooting towards a horizon, they'll be really, really high up. So my second thing I want to throw down is you don't really need to soar up high up to the 400 feet or the 120 meters. Just a little bit higher than your head usually does the trick. But there is a little thing you can do to help you when you're shooting towards a horizon with a drone shot to make it look like you're not so high and to make it look like an interesting shot. And that is whatever the subject is in the photo. So there's the horizon, there's the subject. If you're too high, the subject's down here. You want the subject to break the horizon line so they stick up into the sky.
Good
And you're not
tip.
too high, but it gives an element of depth into the image as well because it separates the foreground and the background. So don't fly too high and have something that breaks the horizon line. Your subject needs to break the horizon line. It's since I started doing that, it's really changed my opinion on how high I really need to go, and it's not very high at all in most cases.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Not above the cloud.
Thank you. Not above the clouds. Photoshop the clouds.
Photoshop the clouds. Yeah. I would say this. Tell me if you have found the same thing. The first time you flew a drone, how nervous were you about putting it over water? Like you couldn't trust it. Like
It's
you knew
not,
it was gonna,
it's not
it was
even
gonna
just
crash
about
and go
water.
down.
It's just about anywhere. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to go too high in case it
Traffic.
suddenly falls out of the sky.
My hand shake. Every
Really?
time that, the first time, and I think the last time, because I don't fly so much, but I'm really, really scared. And I have the DJI Care, it's called
Care Refresh.
Care Refresh for 2 years, so I can crash my drone, and they give me another one, not for free, but I think $50
For cheap, yeah.
Yeah, 50 euros. So, but I'm still scared to fly with my drone. I'm still scared, believe
You
me.
need to get over that.
Maybe.
Well, you need to lose
One
that
day-
because that's going to be interfering with your creativity. You need to lose it.
Do you use a ND filter? on
Yes.
the
Oh,
drone?
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Always for video.
You can do long exposure with the drone.
Yeah. Yeah, I've shot
like
a really nice
yeah.
picture of a waterfall in Lapland in the snow, long exposure with an ND. The one in the label on it was ND32, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, with this Mavic 3 Cine, it comes with 8 ND filters all the way up to 512, I think. But yeah, and they're you twist them on and off. They're quite easy, like literally just a quarter turn, if that, and snaps on. But yeah, if you're shooting video, absolutely,
Yes.
because you want to
Yeah,
get your
you
frame
need to
rate
for
and your
video,
shutter
yes,
speed
yes.
matched and everything to be right for the cinematic look. If it's the cinematic look you want, because that's another thing. Recently, with social media, TikTok, and everything else, people are getting used to a 60 frame per second look, and obviously, cinematic look is 23.96. It's 24 frames per second.
24.
Yes. 20.
And because people are now used to both of those from movies and social media, it doesn't really matter. It's up to you, whatever you want to use, whatever you want to edit in. But if you want to get that cinematic look, then yeah, you need ND filters to balance everything out
Yes.
when you're shooting.
Yes.
When I'm taking photos, I'll use them usually because they're still attached from the video.
Yes.
But sometimes
well,
I'll use
and
them
it-
to slow things down.
It depends on when you're shooting. Like yesterday with that realty shot, I had to put the drone up at 11 o'clock, bright, sunny, cloudless day. So yeah, I've got an ND filter on there because I want to get a little bit more saturation in the colors to show, oh, look at this lush greenery around this house, yada, yada,
Yeah.
yada. Now, Dave, let me ask you a question, because I know that you've taken your drone to parts unknown and other things like that, and in certain conditions. Have you ever flown ATTI where you've got no GPS?
Yeah.
You know, you're in full control of the drone. And
Yeah.
how's that been?
It's usually okay, but you have to see the drone. You have to maintain. I mean, obviously you do
Visual
anyway,
contact.
but you have to maintain that visual contact. Like you can't risk it for a second.
Yes.
The scarier thing is turning off the sensors, the visual detection sensors, the obstacle avoidance. That's the scary thing, because some of the obstacle avoidance is so good that you're deliberately getting close to stuff, but it's pushing you away. And what I found with the downward facing ones, if I'm flying low over the sea, is the drone will bob up and down with the waves, because the waves are going up and down. So the drone's doing following the same path over the water. So that's when I'll turn them off. And that's sometimes when you fly forwards with the sensors off, you can lose some height without realizing. So you do really need to be careful.
Right.
And obviously flying into a tree is another thing. And that's how I lost the only drone I've lost, is having the sensors off and not paying enough attention in a rainforest in Brazil on the side of a mountain. And it hit a rock or a tree or something and just disappeared, and I never saw it again. So yeah,
Bye.
although I would say
Rest in
I'm
peace.
exactly. I'm quite a confident drone pilot.
So
There
now
is
you know.
there is mistakes out there that can be made and probably will be made. So you know, if you're going to turn off obstacle avoidance, if you're going to turn off your sensors, if you're going to go into ATTI mode, you really pay attention. Really, really, really pay attention.
And the only way of being able to do that is fly your drone more. Practice, practice, practice. It's the same as, how do you get to be a better photographer?
Practice.
Shoot a lot.
Practice.
Yeah.
And the same thing with drones. Because I know that, we've all had occasions where, let's say the weather probably wasn't the best to be flying a drone in, but you want to push it. Or I don't know if there's also another good app we have here in the States that will give certain certain information, like not only weather, where the gusts are. Like at 100 feet, there may be 35 miles per hour gusts, as well as the KP index, which is going to affect,
your signal range.
Right, and ability to hook on to various satellites, as well as the number of satellites. Right, if you're not flying in ADI mode, you're depending upon the satellites, your drone to pick those up to maintain its stability.
So you mentioned before you fly, which is the letter B, the number 4, the letter U, fly.
Correct.
Another, talking about forecast, a good app to use for that is UAV forecast, which gives all of that data in one screen.
That's the one I use.
And it just literally goes red at the top or green. Good to fly, not good to fly.
Right.
And it's about the sun, right? It's about this app. It's about the wind, but also about the radiation of the sun. The sun.
Yeah, that's what the KP index is.
Yeah.
I can't remember what KP stands for. It's a German scientist's name. But that's the plasma that's flying. No, it's not that. It's long. It's flying. This plasma's flying through space. It messes with satellites, but it also messes with radio signals on terrestrial radio signals. So it will affect how far you can fly your drone.
So
there you go.
Dave, you travel a lot with your drone, right?
Yes, it goes everywhere.
How you carry your drone when you are in the plane?
Ooh, good question.
It goes in my carry-on, in my hand luggage.
And the battery?
All of it goes in there. You can't technically put a lithium-ion or a lithium polymer battery in hold luggage. It has to go with you on the plane. So it goes in there. My hand luggage, or cabin luggage, carry-on, whatever you want to call it, it always weighs a ton. I don't know, it's always way, way, way over, but then they can't take anything out of there, and it never goes anywhere. If they say this is heavy, I say, well, it's a laptop and cameras and batteries and hard drives and charging banks. It's all stuff that you don't want me to put in the hold. So what are you going to do? Yes. So it's not really an issue, but normally, it goes in it goes with me.
Normally, you ask to the air company if you can fly, if you can carry, or you
no. You've obviously never heard. You've obviously never heard me say before. It's a lot easier to get forgiveness than permission.
Okay.
You ask afterwards.
That's a very popular Jesuit philosophy. So
it is
very nice, very nice.
Yeah,
but I'm with Dave. I'm with Dave. Anytime I fly, my carry-on, if anything personal is in there, and I get it, and remember, I get away with it because for whatever reason, right, the airlines tend not to consider a woman's purse a carry-on. It's like you can have a carry-on and a purse.
And a purse, yeah.
So and a purse. So a lot of times I'll use like a sling camera bag and claim it's a purse, and then have my carry-on backpack. But I'm with you, Dave. It weighs a ton because it's got everything in it that I don't want to lose, including all the lithium batteries, because how many lithium batteries do you travel with? A lot.
Yeah, so there's there's 3 for the drone. Sometimes I've got 2 drones, so sometimes I've got 6 because they're both different batteries. All the camera batteries, 2 or 3 power packs. There's loads and loads.
So, and normally when you fly your drone, you use the DJI Fly app, right?
Yeah, I actually use a smart controller.
Okay.
Oh, you do instead of your phone?
The app's already in there.
Okay. I ask this because when I normally fly, I use the DJI app, but sometimes I use another app to fly my drone.
Oh, what do you do, and what's the app?
The problem is my drone don't have the sensor, right? So I cannot do the fly by waypoint.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And because the photographer normally take the drone to take the photo, but after he go to the video because it's beautiful to take the video with the drone. So and my drone don't have the sensor, so my app, my DJI app, don't allow me to fly via waypoint.
Yeah.
There is another app. It's called, I can say, Lychee. Okay, you can, and it's for Android Lychee. And there is another one that I think it's a little bit better. That is called the Maven, qualcosa del genere, something like this. And it's for iPhone.
Oh, okay.
The problem is, if you use this app, I think that you'll lose your warranty on the drone.
Yeah, I think if you're
DJI
not using the DJI app,
DJI don't work.
yeah.
But for me, it's worth to use it, to use this app.
That's
Because
how a
you
lot
can
of aerial mapping is done, and aerial surveys. They use those kinds of apps to set the path and create these aerial maps using drones. It's fantastic.
Yes, because you can how to say, you can do, before your fly, you can track your create your path on your computer, and after just send to the app, and when you are on location, just push a button and the drone start
Let
and
it do it.
and do it completely.
That's cool.
If I may offer another tip for people who want to fly drones, because you mentioned footage and we mentioned going to video. And earlier, Pisco, you talked about how, your hands would shake when you get nervous.
Yes.
One of the things you can do in your drone is to go ahead and set the sensitivity for certain controls, like yaw or turning it, whatnot. And if, based on your own performance and the way you handle the drone, that's a good thing to do, because a lot of times you'll see when people start doing footage with drones, it's very shaky, right? They'll suddenly turn and it's very sudden and whatnot. And if you want that cinematic look, you've got to really learn how to make those nice turns and, perhaps doing something like as you're going in, you're also going sideways and then turning the gimbal down. All that takes practice, but something that can help you is by setting those sensitivities so that you have to put a little bit more effort into doing that, or maybe less effort, depending on how you handle the drone. Because everybody's going to handle it differently. And that's the nice thing about the DJI drones, the fact that you can, right, the movement to move one of the joysticks can be made to where you have to have a firmer touch or a looser touch.
And also this
That's a really good tip.
make your shot more cinematic. Okay?
Definitely.
Because the movement is very smooth, it's very slow. Yeah, I did it this on my, but my hand still shaking.
I think the only time I've ever been shaking the only time I've ever been shaking was in California when I thought I'd lost a Phantom 3 because of the wind.
I was
there. Really high up. Were you there as well? I know Peter was there.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah,
up
'cause
high up, and
the
I
three
couldn't
of us-
see it anymore. And I was thinking, hang on a minute, is it coming back? And it did the return to home.
Yes.
Right.
But
The
for that,
problem you
for
had that
minute
day.
in between, I just I
Right.
didn't enjoy that.
All right.
So
Dave was flying it off in Malibu,
Yeah.
and you sent it out over the ocean. And I said to you,
Yeah.
Dave, we're having a Santa Ana. A Santa Ana in California is the offshore, not the onshore wind. So it's that very heavy wind, that hot, dry wind that comes from the desert and heads out to the ocean. And so you made great time getting out over the ocean. The problem was coming back. This poor little drone was like,
and the battery.
the battery's going down and whatnot.
So, do you have any insurance of your drone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Because in Italy, it's mandatory to have insurance on the drone
you
when
mean,
you fly.
are you talking about liability insurance or gear insurance?
No,
Because, like, for example,
liability.
I have, right,
Yeah.
I have for my general liability insurance as a professional photographer, I do have an additional rider for my drone. So that, God forbid I should crash into guests during a wedding.
I think the biggest fear is not to lose the drone, because if you lost the drone, okay, no problem. Yeah. The biggest fear is if you lost the drone and you hurt someone.
Yeah, that's the liability insurance.
That's the fear.
Yeah. But that all depends on whether you're working as a photographer or not.
Yeah.
So that's a whole that's a massive subject.
So in Italy, you need to have the visual contact with the drone.
Yeah, same everywhere. Everywhere in the world's
yeah.
got
Same
that.
everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere that allows drones.
Or you need to have another person that I have
Yeah.
the
Yes.
visual
Right.
contact
The,
with the
the,
drone.
the spotter.
Yeah.
That's what the
The
FAA
spotter.
calls it, the spotter.
Okay, it's the same.
Awesome.
Almost.
You know, by the way, another thing people should know about drones, they don't record audio.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you're doing footage, you might, and if you might have to think about adding in things like sound effects of birds, wind, screech
Yep.
of the eagle,
Yep.
and stuff like that.
Let's be
When I-
honest.
so for my
let's-
Due North series, all my drone footage with sound, I use Epidemic Sound to create a little soundscape with all of that, with waves and wind and trees and whatever it is, traffic noise.
Yes,
it all
but
comes from there.
let's be honest, Dave. The only sound that you can hear when you fly drone is zzz.
Yeah.
The angry bees.
And with that angry bees, I think, guys, unless there's anything else, I think that probably wraps up the drone episode.
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome. So we've had some really good takeaways from this, from creativity, from legal standpoints, from do your research being the biggest one. Make sure you know what the drone rules are, where you're going or where you live. Try and avoid the plane window effect, and think carefully when you're doing top-down shots as well. So, Pisco, thank you.
So
Stephanie.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there. And we'll see everybody another day for another episode of the Epic Photography Podcast, sponsored by Platypod. Yeah, the world's most compact tripod base.
Platypod, only for you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.